All right, in this episode, finally, you guys have been waiting for it. We're like done with the back half, almost. Very exciting because we got a mill, we cut our own wood, we made our own headache rack, we customized our own custom flatbed like we do in the Boss style. It's the perfect size, the perfect height, so we can move on to the rest of the truck. It's gonna be fantastic. I can't wait to just finish up this back because this thing has been fighting me the entire time. Let's get into it. Here we go. Story is he bought it from a farm auction just down the road.
Lightly seized.
Man, I love it when a plan comes together.
Super singles are not practical. Why did I do it? Because I've got lots of trucks with duals.
I said I wasn't gonna get carried away. I said that this was gonna be a budget build. Now, imagine I take this beautiful roll off. All you do is take your fingers, take it and plunk it on the back of that Fargo. I'm very excited about this flatbed.
If rather than doing like 2 so-so paint jobs, we do 1 patina and 1 really beautiful paint job.
We're gonna cut this log as quickly as we can and put that on the Fargo bed before we turn into winter. When you find a unicorn, you can't just not go and get a unicorn. All right, so while I was gone, one of my trips, I don't even know which one, Vince welded this exhaust headache rack for me. What it was 2 halves, and had that bent up at a local shop into a hexagon, and then Vince welded the 2 halves together. So you can't even tell that which one is that one's a bit more rounded than the weld. Now I can cut it up into tiny pieces, and we're gonna go up and then over a little bit and then back up again. And to do that, we're gonna use a framing square. We can do 90 degrees, or we can line this up with 45. And now there's a 45. And 45, we'd have to do that in half again because we have to have the same angles cut to go and mate each other. But I think 45 is a bit much yet, so I'm going to do 30. So I'm gonna do 15 and 15. Basically, if you do a 15 cut, you can spin this around and mate it again, then you have a 30-degree angle over. The problem with that is that this is not a perfect hexagon. So if you do that, more than likely, even though it's not bad, it's not going to line up perfect. So what we have to do is cut a 15-degree angle on it and then cut a 15-degree angle the other way, so that the top half matches the top half of the bottom section, if you know what that means. You would get your 30 degrees if you flipped one over, but now more than likely these sides aren't going to match up that nice. I know you're thinking, Rich, how do you know all this stuff? How do you get this smart and line this all up? Well, thing is, it's a dual exhaust, and that's all my mistakes laying on the floor there. That's all my cut-offs from the other section, and I think I can get it right the first time on the second one, doing it the 4th time. I got a 10-foot piece, which is probably a 1/3 too long, but it gives me a little of a chance to screw up in case I don't like it. And I'm gonna be honest, I used almost the entire 10 feet on the other one to get it just right. Better to go too long than too short. You can always cut it shorter later, but lots of fun. Here we go. Okay, there it is. I think I can go up a hair more. I kind of want the broad shoulders look on the truck. We got a mean front. We're gonna put the bumper on it with some chains, but now with the bed being the same width as the tires, this kind of brings the bed into the cab and comes up aesthetically. I like that look. So this one is a bit longer, which would make the headache rack narrower at the top, but I don't like that as much. I thought maybe I could hug the cab a bit, but I don't like it. It doesn't give it that broad-shouldered kind of bulldog look. So I'm really happy with that. The cab's got to go up a bit at the back. I'm not sitting 100% level on the mounts yet, but that's basically how she's gonna look. Now from the side, I know the forklift's in the way and the sun's wrong. Put a lot of goodies in between there yet, but yeah, that's how that's gonna look.
and then the cut on an angle on the top. So I left that long on purpose. That's probably gonna come down a bit, but the back of the cab's got to lift up a little bit. It's been sitting long enough and been moving around enough that my doors don't close properly anymore and the fenders don't close very nice anymore. But yeah, so that brings the length of the cab back a little bit like I wanted, not quite as much as I'd hoped because it's still a very long bed, but still very practical at the same time. I'm gonna take that one back down again, cut that middle section smaller. See, I'm really low on before the angle starts coming up, whereas here I'm way higher. So that's 17 inches, I think, and this is 5. So by the time I'm done, the points will still be about the same on the top. So everything's coming together really, really nice. I'm really happy with that. So I ran out of wire for my little Lincoln, but I went to Princess Auto and got lots of wire. What I didn't get was a cutoff wheel. I got my flapper discs from Princess Auto, but I forgot to buy cutoff discs, and I'm all out. I used every last little one that I had, and these were all leftovers from before, but now they're just even smaller. But all the angles lined up really nice, except for this one, twice. So I cut this one shorter on purpose to see if it fixed it, but what I have to do is cut this seam here and just take a little piece out and close that in, because that's got to go down and that's got to go in, and I can't do that without it. So that is tomorrow morning's job, but I'm happy with how that looks. There's one pipe. Here's the other one. We will grind all this off so it looks like it's smooth, and then it all matches. Otherwise this is going to rust and this is going to rust, but this is not going to rust, and that's going to look weird. So I'd rather the whole thing rust because it's nice and thick. It'll never rust away, and then we can clear coat it afterwards, but that'll match the cab really nice. So happy with the progress. I'm gonna cut the angle on it in the morning, and that angle has to come down just a hair, and that's fine. And then we are good to go. Okay, this is what it looks like all finished. Now this is when you take the steel, when it cools down, it gets this coating on it, kind of floats to the top of the steel when it's molten. So I want to take that off. So basically I just took the grinder and just went up and down and then did my little circles. Put a little bit of a design on it, but then you can't see which side is welded and which one's not. And then try to hide the seams here too. So this will all look super rusty in about a week. It's gonna look terrible, and then it's gonna look awesome because it's gonna match that. We don't want shiny paint or anything like that. We just painted the ram, and rather than doing like two really so-so paint jobs, we do one patina and one like really beautiful paint job, and then we get the best of both worlds. Okay, so that's roughly how it's gonna sit, and I like that height there, so I'm really happy with how that is. We got lots of length on the bottom here yet. And I really like that look. So I think this is roughly where the height's gonna go. You can mark that basically where I thought we were gonna stop. But with the bed, when it was laying down on the ground, it actually tilted back, and I don't want the weight of the headache rack to weigh it down even more. Now we did cut off some on the front, so the weight will be better, but it does angle at the back here, so that this stays flat on the ground. So what I'm gonna do is take this off. I am gonna make a plate where it sits so I can drop that down, put this on the ground, and use these as legs. They're strong enough that it'll when I put it down on the ground, it'll go down. I might have to put little skid plates on it, but I can use that to kind of center when the deck comes back down to hit the exhaust at the same time. So lots of stuff going on inside my head. It's all done in order, but I am happy with that. I'm gonna clean up the other one. I love the diamond look at the top there. I can always go shorter, but the back of the cab is gonna go up higher too yet, because it's actually not sitting level because none of those mounts are done yet. Okay, that is the gist of it. Super happy with that. I think I'm gonna lower the tips down, but like I said, I'll do that once the cab is level. So basically it's gonna be 90 degrees to the deck, and then we can go from there. Really happy with that. Well, the sun's in the way again because it's the wrong time of day again. I'm really happy with how that looks actually. From the sides and from the back and from the front. That just looks stout. Yeah, super thrilled with that. So we'll fill in the gap even more once we put that corrugated steel in between, because it does look like there's a big gap in between there from this angle, but as you go to the front that kind of goes away again, and by here it's about perfect again. And I love the look of it from just pointing straight on. I can't make it any wider. Like, you do have to be about this far back before you see both stacks on either side of the cab, but I think it fills it in really nice. But anything off to an angle where you see the bed in there, I think that's just perfect. Nice. Love it when a plan comes together. So we can put some braces in the pieces that I cut on the bed and stick those in between the split and weld those in place so the bed doesn't change. And then I can take the bed back off again and do all the final welding. Here we go.
All right, we're super excited to be working with Woodland Mills. It's a Canadian company out of Port Perry. Now they set us up with an HM130MAX and the XL Woodlander trailer. We've had to use the Woodland Mills already to cut the wood for the lowboy, and Andy's got an entire bush full of wood that we can cut up. Hardwood, softwood. Right now we're doing the flatbed for the Fargo, and I need 2-inch thick by 7-inch wide. We got a log, a nice pine log. We're gonna cut this as quickly as we can and put that on the Fargo bed before we turn into winter. We've got a full video on DGHD on assembling this entire thing. That video is getting edited right now and will be out very soon, so keep an eye out for that one. And here we go.
Okay, so we got the log on, so our first cut, we're just gonna get a square edge. So we'll take the top off, then we'll turn it 90 degrees so that we can hit the back bunks there. And then we'll take another cut off the top. That way we got two flat edges, 90 degrees.
You wouldn't rotate it 180? It's just too much work.
Too much work. But we will be rotating it a lot, so yeah, don't think that you're getting away with zero exercise here. Woodland Mills currently offers 4 different sawmills. The HM122 and HM126, as well as the HM130MAX and HM136MAX. This HM130MAX portable sawmill on the XL Woodlander trailer is an extremely handy piece of equipment to have around, and not to mention is a very satisfying machine to use. The outside bark cutoffs will be going for firewood, and then our milled slabs cut into the needed thickness to make it into usable dimensional lumber.
So if you guys have been watching the channel for a while, you know I have a construction background, and my love for construction is basically you can do a pile of work in a short amount of time. At the end of the day, you can stand back and say, I did that. You can feel the progress, you can feel your achy bones. It's not just standing in the shop and welding a flatbed for an entire week. I feel I could build an entire log cabin in a week. I love the smell of sawdust. I love getting outside the shop for a bit, and I can't wait to put this mill to use. 14 by 14. Nice. So we need 7 by 2, right?
Yeah.
I think that's all we need. And there it is. Now, nothing wrong with the F350, and I'm not saying that I need Fargo to pull my broken F350 down the road, because we've got 15,000 clicks on it now, and it's purring like a kitty. Do you get it? But I wanted the deck long enough to, just in case, for this one, but mainly for the Ram, because we're going to be building that hybrid diesel electric Dodge Ram. That's a slightly smaller truck than this one. And if this one fits, then the Ram most definitely will. You can see I'm pretty close there. My exhaust pipes will be just okay. It'll just touch, and I'll put the gate to the very back. And I am actually legal if we go all the way to the back here. I'm not really supposed to have anything hanging out over the end. That is absolutely flush right there. So I'll see if I can pick this thing up with the forks. I doubt it. I don't think my forks are strong enough. I'm positive that my brace in the front is strong enough. But there it is. That's what I want. Now imagine that setup on the back of that truck. I was worried about the thing tipping forward with that weight on the front. I don't have to worry about that, so I don't have to use the exhaust as a stand. But I do want to have that exhaust poking up underneath from the truck itself, so I still want to have that down as low as possible. And it is kind of neat. You don't even really notice it, but it does have a whole curve to it. So if you're wondering why we fixed up this old one rather than just welding one from scratch, 1, the materials, 2, it would take even longer, and 3, there is a lot of engineering going to it, so the way it leans down and all that. I still have a few rows of screws to do. I went till as late as I could last night. We'll do a few more of those, and then we'll go on to the exhaust finally, because I started out just wanting to do the exhaust, but I had to do all of this instead first. So here we go. There it is. So what I did was I cut holes in the plate, took the cut off piece and used that to mark it, and then plasma cut it out. And I will tack those in place, and I will tack the plate in place on the frame. If I need to rotate it slightly or tip it slightly or whatever, I'm not gonna weld that solid until it's on the truck with the cab in the right spot, but I'll tack it so that it doesn't move. And then I'm close enough, and then I'm gonna bolt this down. So essentially you can remove the headache rack if I need to. We've got those sitting on the ground, and that's the height that I marked. I was happy with this angle at. I can still cut these smaller if I find they're too tall, and I can cut those on the bottom if I find they stick down too much. I'm going to put my winch on there and then start making the gate. I'm gonna make a battery holder on one side, which will hold a 12-volt battery, which will run the lights and the winch, and I don't know how I'm gonna charge it just yet. We'll worry about that later, but it's looking pretty slick. I am happy with that. I cut it nicely in between here, so it's right on the very edge, as far back as possible. So I'm gonna weld these all along the pipe, and then I'm gonna take angle iron, put that on the inside kind of as a frame around there. I'll take some random ones and just put a couple tacks in there just to keep it from like sliding, because these aren't actually welded, they're just woven together like a basket. Then I'm just gonna tack it together good enough so that it will fit on the back, and then I'll know exactly where my window is, and then I can put some shelves or some hangers on there for some bear clamps and things like that, maybe some chains. But we'll do that on the truck. And then when that's on the truck, we'll cut the holes for the lights in the side as well. And I think we can continue using the plasma cutter for that, because it's been working really, really well. So yeah, looks good so far, nice and straight. They line up nicely, but we'll see what it looks like when it's actually on the track. Okay, and there she is. Has to go ahead another like 6 inches.
but I knew that. This brace is what keeps it from flying off, so I gotta cut a hole in here, and that fits just perfect. But I'm really happy with how that looks. I think the exhaust, I'm gonna cut it down just a hair. That's a bit too tall for my liking. The top brace is perfect. The window, the cab's sitting a little crooked, keep in mind. It's off by a little bit, but I'm ecstatic by how that looks. I am so thrilled. That is a beauty truck. I love it. Some toolboxes along the bottom to keep that bottom line going. And then the fuel tank and the hydraulic tank there as well. And this is just gorgeous. All right, so a lot of you guys commented that I'm gonna regret pulling that side off. I don't, because it would have stuck out way too far, but to make up for that, because you guys said now I have nothing to tie down to, we welded on these D-rings. Now in between these are going to be lights. That's gonna run off the same battery that the winch does, because we're gonna dump this bed right onto the ground, and the lights in the winch will still work even though it's completely disconnected from the truck. We figured out a Bluetooth system so that the Bluetooth will work with when you turn the headlights on. These lights will come on, and they'll stay on when you completely disconnect the truck. We'll have some spotlights on the back so we can load that stuff, but that's coming up probably in the spring, because in the meantime, it's almost the end of fall now, and it's time to go back inside the shop. So what we need to do inside the shop is rebuild the engine. But after thinking about it, this one smokes quite a bit, and I know it's worn pretty well to the end of its life. Facebook Marketplace, oh, it's the worst thing on the internet, because when you find a unicorn, you can't just not go and get a unicorn and tell everybody I got a unicorn. So Andy and I headed up north to a scrapyard, and can't wait to show you guys this one. Here we go. We are at Thompson Iron and Metal and Brian's Truck Parts. They run a scrapyard out in Gravenhurst, and we gave him a call because we had this little beauty 15 minutes away, and graciously picked it up for us. Look at that, and it's even kind of cleanish. Look at that. Wow. Garrett Turbo got a hold of us and said, we'd like to supply you a couple turbos for the Fargo. The problem is our MW pump can't handle compounds because we can't get enough fuel into it to make those compounds actually do anything. But we found this little truck, nice and cheap, with a stroker. It's actually a DT408. Now it's a problem because it's D-stroked, but it has the P pump that we need. So this would be a DT408 NGD, new generation diesel. This is a super rare truck. You can't even buy parts for these anymore. Now they just send you liners and pistons for a 466. Probably seized. Oh. We are going to take the cab off and just cut the frame and take the frame with us.
Oh, you can smell the interior.
We'll put our two engines together and build a sweet little engine that can handle compound turbos, because the Fargo build is getting completely out of hand, and we might as well just take it right to the top. So it shouldn't take long at all. 20 minutes. Like that. Take the bumper off. We'll cut it right behind this mount here. Drop the front axle. We can boom that right in the back of the truck, and we're golden. So thank you very much, man. You're just starting out here? You got a trucking company and scrapyard?
Yeah, the trucking is kind of part of our business. We actually built that truck out here in the yard.
So what year is it?
It's a 1996. Playing around on Ritchie Brothers, and I'm like, no one's buying this thing. It's kind of crazy. I ended up picking this up for $6,500, was the hammer price. And then we got it up here. It had a van body on it and one of the obsolete drop axles. We completely stripped it from the frame back down to the frame rails, and we double framed it, we shortened it, put a fifth wheel on it, and I started doing all my own hauling. Family run, and we're trying to grow nice and slow. It's coming along.
Awesome, well, we really appreciate it. We'll put this engine to good use, and you'll put the back half to good use?
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, all the best. All right, so we're gone. Super nice people, Kyle and his dad.
But anyway, we're heading home. Tighten these straps up here, and we'll be home before you know it. All right, so we did all this work in the summer because I still like working outside, but now we're gonna move the Fargo inside the shop, but not the entire thing because it takes up way too much room. So we're gonna be pulling the engine out of this. We'll be rebuilding the DT 408 and the 466 together. So we're taking the crankshaft and connecting rods out of this one and then everything else off of the 408. That way we can hop it up with the P7100 pump. We'll be hooking the 10-speed up to it. We'll be dropping that. Then we'll be pushing the truck back in again. We'll be doing all the brakes, the drive shaft, while we're working on the other projects as well, whether it's the Bronco, the C10, the Silverado. Lots of things are happening. The Edison stuff is moving right along. They're all getting closer to being done, and man, what a good feeling that is. So thanks for watching, guys. I'm working my butt off trying to get everything done, and it's paying off. So can't wait to share it all with you guys, but that will be on other videos. Thanks for watching. Here we go.